Edwards wins right here, right now, if green lights come on the left side scoreboard, he will run for the 30 grand. Because everybody else in the field has already had a bye run, and it'll all be his. If Jim Glenn wins, if the right side scoreboard comes on right now, then the best winning reaction time in this round will get the bye run. If Jim Glenn wins, Kraus potentially could take a bye run and earn a bye run. Jim Glenn won. So here's the deal. Red light, Tim Wirtz. 471 on the 71, Jim Glenn. Jim Glenn is 18 on the bulb, and the bye run is back in play. Jim is 18. And dead one after the red light. Matt Obertanic and Kenny Underwood. Obertanic, who ran the table in pro and then jumped in here. Kenny Underwood, who has been unbelievable today. Just coming up short one time with his double entries. 590 to a 670, left lane is going to leave first. Obertanic is ready in the spirit. Underwood. And they both away on the green. Obertanic trying to hold on. Underwood closing in. Little womp, little womp. Obertanic wins it dead 2. He was holding 6 in reaction time, runs dead 2 for the win. Kenny Underwood goes dead 5. Both of them missed the tree, and here's the deal. Jim Glenn had an 18 reaction time. 18. If Randy Kraus has better than an 18 reaction time, he will earn the next bye run into the final. But he's got to be better than 18, and he's got to be green. If he's worse than 18, Jim Glenn solos his way into the $30,000 run. No pressure. Yeah, no big deal. I wonder if Randy knows he was sitting in the car. I mean, did somebody tell him, dude, set up to be 10. Dude, set up to be 12. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be better than 18, and you got to be green. The bye run. The bye run earns the bye run. All 3 drivers in the semifinals have had a bye run. Randy Kraus with a 10 reaction time was the best of the 3. He will take another bye run and then come back and run for 30 grand against either Jim Glenn or Matt Obertanic.
Hello, racers. We have a treat for you today. I have some really smart guys on here, both from the technical side and also from the racer side, that we're going to talk about the age-old controversy of alcohol versus gas. So we're going to start with Mark Wessler from Fuel Factory. He's a director of sales. Then we're going to transition into Luke Bogacki, and we're going to give you the positives, negatives, and our general thoughts of alcohol versus gas. So, Mark, first tell us a little bit about Fuel Factory. You're new in the business. You're starting to make a pretty wide footprint, it seems. And what's when did you enter the market, and what are you guys all about? I know, and this guy, by the way, for everyone who's watching, has more experience in racing fuel than probably anybody that I know personally.
Sure. Thanks, Pete. It's exciting to be here and have the conversation. And so Fuel Factory, we launched at the 2022 version of the PRI show. We had spent about 12 to 14 months prior to that putting together our blends and our proprietary formulations, working with engine builders, doing a bunch of on-track testing at many of the big bracket races that either you put on or that many of your customers attend before the brand even actually went public.
Luke, you've run gas on all your super class stuff. You won a world championship in super gas. You run super comp, and you've also brought out a new little cool Vega recently in the last couple of years, and that's printing tickets on alcohol. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts. If a racer came to you, Luke, and said, I'm building a race car. That's all he tells you. I'm building a race car. Should I put on alcohol, or for these big buck bracket races, should I put on alcohol or gas?
So I think Mark hit it on the head in terms of you can make an argument for each, especially given your specific application. As you mentioned, like a lot of today's higher horsepower, newer technology power plants, like your spread port stuff, or even for the most part, your 20-degree stuff, like it's just happier on gas. It's easier to make gas work, right? And not to say that you can't make alcohol work on something like that, but more prevalent on gas versus, you know, something like you mentioned my Vega, that's just a 383 with a decent set of aluminum heads, like kind of your bare bones combination. Like for something like that, I would much more make an argument for alcohol. Now for everything in between that you could kind of go either way, I think the easiest way to sum it up from a bracket racing standpoint, like I came from the school, you know, 20, 30 years ago, everybody said, hey, you run alcohol because it's more consistent. And I still think that that statement is accurate today. Like I think the right alcohol setup is more quote unquote consistent in that when it's right, something like my Vega, it should go 629 at noon when I roll in, and it should go 629 at midnight in the final, and nothing in between. And that's very easy to keep up with, right? Like it doesn't, in most cases, it doesn't really even matter what the weather's doing. Like it should just stay there. I would make the counter argument that on a similar combination, gas, while it may not be as quote unquote consistent, it is every bit and at times even more predictable in terms of it's not going to run 629 all day long, but it's going to follow the weather and you're going to know exactly what's coming. And the advantage to gas, I think, which is probably more prevalent today than ever. You talked about the NHRA racing and superclass racing that we do, where races are often day to day, right? And you go in to have a round or two throughout the event in which you haven't made a time trial that day. Well, that, as you know, Pete, is becoming more and more common in the big dollar bracket scene. And when you've got significant changes in weather from one run to the next or one day to the next, I would actually argue that in my experience, gas is actually more predictable in knowing what's coming. So it's alcohol is consistent, gas is predictable. There's a happy median there somewhere depending on what you want to do.
My take on it is this: the alcohol is so much more forgiving that it's a little bit more, it's a lot more, it is a wider range where your tune-up's going to work really well in a wider range. Wider range of weather. Gasoline can be, and Fletcher's a big gas guy, and he helped me with my car. Gasoline could be as good and more not quite as consistent, but very consistent and predictable for, like what Luke said, those first runs of the morning at a big buck bracket race when you have a big weather change. And some of the guys on alcohol, I know when I used to run and I ran Indy on alcohol, the next day, I know Luke goes through this at a big buck bracket race, but the next day, weather changes so much. Okay, am I gonna pick up 300s or am I gonna pick up 500s? Where on gas, I know I'm gonna pick up 800 to 900s. What you're saying, I know that sounds like a lot, but it really maps out and it's predictable. My take on the gas though is it does have its advantages, but you have to stay on top of the tune-up. You have to. So to get my car good at new media on gas, I ended up having to change a lot of things. I ended up having to lean it out, run a more oxygenated fuel, and where if I was on alcohol, I probably wouldn't have had to go through that little struggle, that hump that I kind of looked like a fool the first 3 days I was at new media this summer. Now, I will say this, on gas, I think most people are running too rich. I think they get the carburetor from their motor guys who are a little bit more conservative and want to make sure there's enough fuel going to it. And then they go to 8th mile, and then they go to summertime. I really think that a lot of gas guys probably could use to lean it out, but sticking with
Let me interrupt. Bracket racing 101. Your converter should be looser and you could lean it down some. We fixed it.
Let's switch over to gas since that's what you're very experienced in, Mark. Let's give the audience, the racers, a summary of some different fuels that could be popular in bracket racing that you offer, from a small block Chevy to a something with more compression versus something with less compression versus a 12-degree 632.
Sure. And again, I think it just depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish with your particular application. But, we've got what we would consider conventional fuels in your what we call F12, F14, and F16. Could be used in everything from a high RPM small block to a 17 or 18 and a half to 1, SR20 headed, 632. Continues to be more and more popular are the oxygenated fuels. Some guys feel like they do act and a little bit more consistent and weather swings and maybe act a little bit more like methanol. So we've got a couple of different oxygenated fuels that quite a few bracket racers are out there running now. But yeah, we've got the whole lineup. So fuelfactoryusa.com is the website. We'll be on hand at the next 2 Fling events here to answer any questions and help take care of fuel needs.
Well, great advice from 2 really smart people in the industry. I appreciate you both coming on and sharing your experience, sharing your advice with the racing community.
Well, racers and race fans, both here and around the world at Motor Mania, the decision has been made, and it was not an easy one, but the MVP of this year's Summer Fling is Jeremy York. Unfortunately, he didn't have a very long day today, but between the dragster and the pickup, holy smokes, it seemed like every time I looked out the window, I was seeing you out there. Pretty good weekend for your team.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, it's kind of one of those weekends you always hope to have, but they're kind of few and far between sometimes.
How difficult is it switching back and forth from one car to the other, especially when we get into the late rounds and you got to keep hustling?
I mean, to me, I've done it for so long. It doesn't really seem to be a problem. It's just kind of you know, you get used to adapting to them, and after so many runs, you kind of get used to it. But when you go from the door car and then you start racing the dragsters, that's a little bit different than when you're just door cars, and dragsters, first dragsters.
I went back and looked, and correct me if I'm wrong if you keep notes, but I believe 24 rounds this weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was, I think just the dragster. I think I had 24 round wins, and the truck, I'm not too sure on. I didn't go back and look at it. I know one day we had it somewhere around 5th round or so, I think, early on. But yeah, it was 24 rounds in the dragster, no buybacks.
Pretty impressive stuff, and well, that's why you were awarded the MVP. You're going to have a heck of a trophy to put in your trophy case. I'm not sure if you got to see it while it was here or while you were here, but we'll get it in your hands, and I promise you, you're going to be pretty impressed by it. You had a great weekend. We really appreciate you being here and supporting the Flings, and look forward to seeing you the next time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Pete, Emily, Alan, everybody behind the scenes. Thanks for all they do and put into these races to make them, what they are, and kind of, go above everybody else and kind of make you feel special, when you have weekends like this. Hats off to them for all they do for us.
Well, that's what we tell everybody. Race it and experience it. This weekend, you did it all. Jeremy, congratulations on your MVP, and we will see you somewhere down the road. Thanks for supporting the Flings.
All right, thanks.
At different skill sets, different skill levels on where they're at. The goal on this, and I'll stay on here as long as you guys want, is to give you guys, no matter what skill set you're at, a foundation, just a couple of foundational points to build a foundation for you as a racer, regardless of what skill set you're at. And one foundation point, I'll call it, is keeping a very simple game plan. The simpler, like a game, like Mike, it sounds like you don't hold too much. Maybe your game plan is, all right, I know I can cover my number. I'm probably going one under, let's just say. And I can relate to this because early 2000s at ACO, I ran a weekend like this, and it was real simple. I said to myself, if I can get to the stripe first, I'm going to get there by as little as I can. Because if I'm not going to get, if I see he's getting there, I'm just going to bail out 100th and a half. I wasn't holding much. I was killing a tree, and I did great. But even with all the tools I have in my toolbox, weapon, so to speak, that was the simple game plan I chose to use for that day, for that weekend. And I think if you can just simplify it more, and it sounds like you're kind of getting ahead of yourself as you're going down the track, and you're overcomplicating, and it's turning into second guessing. Just keep it really, really simple. Okay.
All right, here we are, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the Moser Spring Fling Million. It's first round, we're at the ET Shack, and here's another edition of Terminator Tips. So a common theme, a common situation that I see and have people ask me is, why do these guys hold so much? There's a certain, mostly the traveling pros they call them, that will hold 4 to 5 numbers, 2 to 3 numbers. And why do they do that? Well, some would say it's so they can drive the finish line. But one of the main reasons they do it is to show you, if you're in the other lane, a totally different look. Usually it's getting close down there. When you race one of them, they have you covered up early. So guess what? They want you to say, oh, I'm screwed, and get you in a negative mindset and maybe a knee-jerk reaction, and they'll try to take you out of your game and dump early, and that's how they get more room down there. They're getting you to do something that you weren't strategizing to do. So you end up going, let's say, 3 off the dial. So my main...
Semi-final action of our final day. American Race Cars Sunday 30K. Jim Glenn, Ridgefield, Washington, 471 left side. Matt Obertanic, Tarrenton, Pennsylvania, the AMC Spirit knocking it off the bottom. He said, I don't need no delay box. Let's just do this. He was in Bristol last week swapping feet and decided, hey, let's just come back north and do it again. So here he is. He finds himself in the semifinals for $30,000. Obertanic on a 670, Jim Glenn on a 471. (16 to a 29). Jim Glenn with the advantage. Will we have an all dragster final? We do. Jim Glenn, 16, dead 3, 19 total, taking 19, locks out Obertanic, 29, dead 9, no good. But what a day for Matt Obertanic. Like I said, you can't take anything away from the guy hitting it off the bottom, and he would never use that as any kind of excuse because he'll line his stuff up with anybody. But man, what an accomplishment in this field for Obertanic to get all the way down to 3 before he bows out. So great job, Matt Obertanic. Stop me if you've seen this before, but it's a buy run for Randy Krause. He did this at 5, and now he's doing it at 3. Everybody at 3 had a buy run, and by virtue of having the best reaction time, Krause earned the buy run once again. So he'll go to the final to face Jim Glenn. And he's 10 again. I mean, seriously, stop me if you've seen this before. 10 dead 5. 15 total, just making it look really, really easy for Randy Krause. So Randy Krause and Jim Glenn going to settle it for 30 grand here at National Trail.
Welcome to Las Vegas. Welcome to the Moser Engineering Spring Fling Million. For many of you, this is a familiar feeling. For others, it's a first. And while this entire week will be amazing, an experience that will last a lifetime, ultimately, There's a reason that most of us are here. I want you to humor me for just a moment. I want you to close your eyes and allow yourself to sink into, to imagine what it's going to feel like here on Friday morning. Soak in that energy. Because if you know, you know. You can say it's just another race all you want. And yet, you know, $1 Million Day, it's just different. There is an electricity in the air. There is an intensity in your gut. It's largely unspoken. You're surrounded by professionals. We all know what we signed up for. But make no mistake, it's here. And you are not the only one feeling it. With that excitement, with that electricity, there is an inherent pressure to perform. The stakes are high, sure, but what might be even more intriguing to the competitor in all of us is this unique opportunity to test our skills against the best racers the world has to offer. Embrace this moment as just that, an opportunity. You belong here. When you roll into the water for round one, you see the mountains in the distance. If you're fortunate enough to make that left turn beside the tower for round 6 and see so many of your fellow racers standing on the fence, eliminated, but waiting with bated breath. Because, let's be honest, no one leaves the million before it's over. I'm not going to tell you that in that moment, your heart won't be beating out of your chest. It will. I'm not going to tell you that you won't feel that nervous energy in the pit of your stomach. I will tell you this, embrace that feeling. It does not come every day. It's not rooted in fear. It's not rooted in trepidation. No, those butterflies in your gut, do you know what they mean? They mean that you care. And if you didn't care, you wouldn't be here in the first place. You've done the work necessary to succeed at this level. Trust yourself to execute to the best of your immense ability. Find confidence in the fact that you have worked, thought, studied, trained as hard or harder than anyone in competition at this moment. You are prepared, you are ready. These are the moments that make the grind worthwhile. You have trained yourself so that now, on the biggest stage, you can trust yourself. Focus on your strengths, execute them to the best of your ability. It's natural to think that on this stage, against this immense level of competition, that we have to be superhuman to succeed. Only, that's not accurate. Race within your comfort zone. We're all familiar with the stakes. This promises to be the richest spring fling million ever. The consequences of winning today, pretty monumental. For most of us, winning today's event, it would be a life-changing experience. But not winning today's event, it's not as devastating as we often think in the moment. Sure, a loss in the big show, it stings. It stings more than normal. But we'll wake up tomorrow, we'll resume everyday life, and if we're honest, we're in Las Vegas, driving a race car for the better part of a week. If we're honest with ourselves, our life is pretty good. I want to encourage each of you, take a moment in the heat of battle, take a moment to soak in the scene. You've got the mountains in front of you, a beautiful backdrop to an incredible facility. You're surrounded by the energy of hundreds of racers striving for that same goal, creating an atmosphere that is as electric as any that our sport has to offer. Give yourself a moment, maybe at the ready line, maybe it's as you pull into the water box, perhaps it's right before you pre-stage. Take a look around. Breathe this in. This is what it's all about. Approach today with your best effort, your best attitude, practice optimism on purpose. Well, that doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. Listen, there have been 7 winners in the history of this event, and not one has been 000 for 9 consecutive rounds to do it. In fact, no one's been 00 anything for 9 straight rounds to do it, because we don't play a game of perfect. So don't expect perfection within yourself. And don't allow your inability to be perfect to derail you from your ability to be the best that you can be. Strive to underreact in the moment. You have earned the right to be confident. And if we're honest, while it may not feel like it in the moment, in the big picture, you've got very little to lose. Keep that in perspective and enjoy one of the best days that our sport has to offer.
At American Race Cars, we design and build the most competitive dragsters on the planet. Founded in 2005, American has quickly become one of the premier chassis builders in sportsman racing. Travis Colangelo and the American team focus on quality, precision, and driver safety. And remember, exceptional customer service comes with every car sold. Round wins, race wins, and championships start here. Join the American family today. For more information, visit AmericanRaceCars.net or see us at the track.
It really feels like if you can win a spring fling event, it's one of the most prestigious events you can win because a lot of really good bracket racers show up and it's just a really tough atmosphere.
These are some of the best bracket racers all over the U.S. There's a great turnout this year and I'm going up against the best of the best, trying to put my best foot forward. I think it's been really awesome. Definitely being challenged out here.
If someone asked me about spring fling, I would tell them to come and enjoy it because it's a great time. It's a full week of racing and a lot of beautiful cars and a lot of good competition.
If I was asked by anyone whether or not they should come to the spring fling, I would say absolutely. It's the best race on the West Coast. I would absolutely recommend it. Go spring fling team.
Weldon, pumps, regulators, filters, fueling champions.
So let's talk reaction times. A lot of times people will ask me, what do you set up for? You got some guys that just say, I set up for a 9 or 10, no matter what. I have a little bit different philosophy. Depending on the round, so for instance, first round, and I battle this with Marco Perovalaris all the time. He sets up super aggressive, and I always preach aggression, first of all. I think everyone could use to be a little more aggressive and a little less afraid of the red light. Secondly, first round, you only have one or two laps under your belt. You can't set up 005 because you don't know, you really don't know your window yet. And also your opponent, it only had 1 or 2 runs, so the chances they're going to be low 00 is also not a good chance. So first round, I tend to pad the box a little bit, and because I don't have much data to go by. So let's just say if I'm 005 and 009 on my time runs, I'm definitely not going to take any out. I'll probably add 2,000 or 3,000 in to cover that. Now, when you get into later rounds, it's a different story. You start gathering data, you start getting more confident, you start seeing what your window is, and on those, so basically first round, I'm more like a 10-12 setup guy. Later rounds, I'm not afraid to set up 005, and if I'm really killing it, I'm not even afraid to set up 003 or 004 in certain situations. Now, light conditions, how do light conditions play into all of this? The best I could explain is, from my experience, the quickest part of the day is going to be dusk or morning before the sun really comes up, gets high in the sky. The slowest part of the day is going to be when it's really bright and sunny and dark. So, but with incandescent bulbs back in the day, you'd have to move maybe 15 thou, 200 sometimes, especially depending on the sun. With the LED bulbs, you really shouldn't be overthinking that. You don't have to do much to the box because day to night, sun to no sun, it's pretty consistent. The only thing I'd say is what I see nighttime, if anything, people need to be more aggressive. They seem to slow up a little bit at night, and that's somewhat dependent on the light conditions at the race they're at.
I mean, when you're going for $100,000 winner take all and a $7,500 fuel factory team bonus, there's going to be some tension out there. We have some multi-time NHRA world champions. We have some $1 million race winners, some young guns. It's going to be a bloodbath.
That is a really talented group we've got up there, and a big tip of the cap to the folks at Fuel Factory getting involved. Somebody standing in this picture is going to go home with $100,000 that they didn't have when they woke up this morning. And we are racing for real. Trip Zip taking less than 1,000. Right place, right time. 3 aces of handicap, 1.11 seconds. Richardson in the blue car will be off and running. Taylor in the Roadster on the chase. Win line sections. Richardson, 0.23, 1 above. Beats 0.25, 2 above. 5 thousandths of a second at the stripe, plus 1.8. Taylor's plus 2.1. Scotty Richardson, congratulations, picking up the big bucks.
I'm really speechless because I come here and I wanted to run this race just because these young guys ain't as good as what they think. And us old guys still got a little gas. Really, I don't know what else to say other than thank you for everybody that's been a part of it.
It's been a fun day. Thanks for everybody who shared the mic.
And Randy Krause. Randy Krause, one of those people you don't maybe know a lot about, but very, very accomplished racer in the Northeast, trying to stake his claim to our American race cars Sunday 30K. You know the name Jim Glenn, you know Jim Glenn, the reigning Super Comp World Champion. He won the $100,000 shootout in Vegas at a fling event. He's just, the dude just shows up and shows out, and he's doing it here again. So we could not ask for better representatives of the final round here at National Trail Raceway to close out the JEG Summer Fling presented by Optima Batteries than these two. Jim Glenn, Ridgefield, Washington. Yeah, that Washington, like way out there. Like he is so far from home, like you can't see home from here. You got Randy Krause from Orfield, Pennsylvania. These two, like I would say most time you see people that go, they probably cross paths a lot. These two may not cross paths very often at all. Pennsylvania versus Washington State. And we're going to settle it for $30,000. Jim Glenn, left side on a 471. Randy Krause, 491, right side. 2/10 separate them. It all comes down to this. As we close out an absolutely incredible week here at National Trail. And Jim Glenn turns it 6 thou red. Randy Krause, your winner. Caitlin, what do you think? Oh yeah, there we go. Couple hands in the air. That's so awesome. Congratulations, Randy Krause goes dead 2, lays 15 total in the final. But let's not forget Jim Glenn in the other lane. He's dead 5. So if he turns it green there, it was going to be exactly the Titanic matchup we expected. So congratulations, Randy Krause. And also congratulations, Jim Glenn, your runner-up. So I'm sure Randy's going to turn it around, get back up here, and have a winner's circle interview and close out our time here at National Trails. So we'll get ready for that and get ready to close out an event. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you in the winner's circle. All right, we are down here in our Sunday American Race Cars winner circle with today's $30,000 winner, Randy Krause. How does that sound? How does that sink in this moment that you just cracked him for 30 grand?
Well, it's hard to describe. It's like a dream. We're here. Folks, they were with us all day. What, are we losing Mike or what? No, you're good. Okay. My daughter, Caitlin, S&W Race Cars. Ken, I hope you're watching. I told you we were going to do it. Jason, Amy back home, Rob Reinert, all those guys helped me out a lot. Mike Divert. If it wasn't for them, I mean, the car wouldn't be together, it wouldn't be running the way it is. Especially C2 converters. Thanks, Lee.
Well, that's, you may be a little surprised and you may be telling me we were going to do this, but from what I hear, you've been kind of tearing up the Northeast, including kind of recently, you might have taken out Peter Biondo for 10K. How does this compare to that on a big scale?
I don't know. This is it's a pretty nice race. I mean, I ran his flings a couple years ago. I ran 3 of them at Bristol. Caitlin wanted to come here, so we decided to come here. I mean, when I ran Pete the other week, he pretty much, I mean, I put a good lap down, but he handed it back to me. So it is what it is.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, but what's your key to success? I mean, what makes you work? Everybody has a different driving style. Everybody does things just a little different. What makes Randy Krause and this race car tick so well?
I don't know, just the product that we sell. I put a lot of trust into the car, and the car saves me a lot.
That's what it takes. It takes a team. It takes a partnership between you and the car. And my friend, you put together an incredible run today, and we are so happy for you. And on behalf of all of us, congratulations. And give it up for today's $30,000 winner, Randy Krause. All right, so that's a wrap on our JEG Summer Fling presented by Optima Batteries. It's been an incredible week here at National Trails. The staff worked hard, the racers showed up, and it was just a wonderful time. And we're looking forward to doing it again here in a couple weeks at Bristol. We hope you join us then. So on behalf of my partner for the weekend, Alan Reinhardt, I'm Steve Riggins, and we're saying so long from National Trails.
Oh, yeah. Okay, today is day last, and today was a wonderful day. The weather was perfect. The people, the racing, everything was just great. Okay, so Wednesday, we started Wednesday we started with the Fuel Factory 100K All-Star Shootout, and Scotty Richardson was the victor in that one. Okay, then on Thursday, we had the APD, that's Advanced Parts Design, 15K, And let's see, Gage Birch took that one. Okay, then Friday, we had the ATI 30K. Eric Sandlin took that one. And then on Saturday, we had the Fuel Tech 30K, and Jeremy York took that one. Jeremy York also was named the MVP of this event. So that's way cool. And then, of course, tonight we had American Race Cars 30K, and Randy Krause took that one. That's it. Thank you to Strange Engineering for bringing us in and keeping us free to you, the viewer. We got to pack up and head out to the OG Million. And so say your goodbyes to each other, and we will see you in a day and a half, something like that. We'll be live Tuesday, so we will see you then.
Welding, pumps, regulators, filters, fueling champions.